I'm not understanding what the purpose is for talking about colorism at this point. Or you can call it darkism. Or racism because that's what it actually is. But the woman who claims she coined the term and started publicly talking about colorism online herself doesn't even like black women. I've seen her so quickly get angry at other black women and then say things like, "you black bee." And of course, she is using the term black in a derogatory sense. Where did she get this disdain for dark skin from? This extremely dark woman's entire purpose for talking about this clearly is to beg males with the same skin color as her to stop hating her for being black. Because if colorism talk was coming from a place of self-love and in defense of black women, she would not be begging a group of males to validate her. Okay, so that's one woman. The rest of them, again, it seems to be the same intentions. So my question to these women is, are you also trying to marry clan members? Because I'm not understanding what the difference would be, but what I want to talk about is black women wanting external validation, specifically coming from the males who hate them. So colorism is not new, and no, you're not going to blame black male hatred for black skin only on white supremacy. If you as a black woman don't like someone's skin color, they're going to call you racist and hateful, or mock you as a self-hater, not come up with an excuse and allow you the grace of being a victim of brainwashing. So I also want to know why your first instinct would be to defend someone for hating your race. Black women are all over the internet proclaiming that they're just now coming to the conclusion of so many different aspects of their relationships with males. But why now? Let me mention something that's actually important, not just getting a compliment from a male. In the 1920s in New York City, a dark-skinned black male named Jack Johnson opened up the Cotton Club. He happily allowed only white people to attend the club as guests. No Negroes allowed, except for the black people who performed as darkies, dancing like monkeys with tribal drums in the background. A couple years later, it was a touch less racism going on. However, the girls working there had to be extremely light-skinned, basically biracial, to work there. Now in 1908, the first HBCU black sorority was opened, and again, only biracials and black girls who didn't look black allowed. So, I think of colorism, I'm thinking in terms of getting denied access to educational opportunities and income. Income, and lack thereof, is a life or death issue. The lack of it is extremely damaging and puts you in a very horrible place in life. This is more important than desirability. Now let's come up to more recent times. In 2011, a study was done that concluded black women with darker skin get longer sentences in prison. So again, I'm talking about very important, life-changing, life or death situations, and this is how I see colorism and the effects. Black women talking about colorism don't acknowledge this history and aren't advocating for dark-skinned women in prison. All this has been allowed to go on. Black women have continued to support these males for generation after generation. Again, while being denied access to places that they've eagerly continued helping these males get in. The males of your community had no problem coming together to help white males in America with their ban on dark-skinned women being seen as not only desirable, but even just working at a club to make money. They had no problem coming together online to make sure everyone can see that no matter what happens in your community, you're always at fault. Anything good that happens, it didn't come from you. So again, before you start blaming only white males, I want you to think why these males were quote-unquote unable, but in reality, unwilling to come together to support you dark-skinned women. Back to my earlier point, black women are just now saying things that they should have been saying a long time ago. If you come across a black woman who has been alive for a while and she claims that she was not aware and didn't know what colorism is, she's lying. She's either light-skinned herself and is creepy and gets off on the concept of being liked only because skin color, because she can't get attention in the white community for either being very pale or very dark, because she's neither. Or she's dark-skinned, and she's one of millions of black women who historically and currently like to pretend they don't see what's going on. Or she just has an extreme hate for herself, or she doesn't want to be mocked because it's very normal for black women to be seen as not human, therefore not able to have human emotions. Typically, if you see a black woman crying, expressing concern, guilt, sadness, or some other type of natural negative emotion, people's first response will be to mock or try to shame her as bitter, as if she's doing something wrong or strange and should feel embarrassed about it. If someone is attacking you and being hateful because of your skin color, you should have a natural reaction to it and react in some way. If someone else tries to shame you for reacting or talking about your negative experience, you should ignore them and just continue talking and expressing your emotions. Refusing to express normal and natural emotions and allowing negativity to be built up, I believe, is how we come to today in 2024 to the situation we have now regarding colorism. let's talk about preferences. So this term was created as a joke. Now it's very disturbing to me because I see it as a joking term, yet I'm aware that other Black women are not using it in jest. So these women are hurt because the males who they grew up believing they're supposed to be with because of race do not like them because of their race. These women are now talking about preferences and how other women think they're better than them, but not online talking about the femicide rate, the lack of safety for their daughters, income, jobs, politics, or anything else that should take priority and is more important. Their only concern seems to boil down to they want to be a preference and they are hurt because they are not a preference, despite the fact that these women can see the women whom they are referring to as preferences are just as mistreated as they are when it comes to these males. Because the males that these women are clinging on to hate their own race, but also just hate women in general. Imagine wanting to be with someone that hates you. Of course, these males will not admit that because they understand that it's extremely bizarre and they should feel embarrassed about their self-hate. Not because Black women will shame them, but because people of other races, especially white males, will not respect them. I mean, they already don't respect them, but I mean really not respect them. I usually think about this in a way that white males are very proud of their race, always defending their race and uplifting their image. From skin color, blonde hair to brown hair, even the red hair that gets made fun of sometimes, gets the chance to be uplifted. So I would imagine that a person with this much pride speaking to someone who's totally opposite of that eventually would have no respect for them and be disgusted by them. Again, the majority of these colorists are not going to blatantly say how they really feel. Of course, you'll just hear little snide comments like, I love African women, especially the ones from East Africa like Ethiopians, of course, pointing out that these women typically are extremely mixed with white, or some of them, like the Somalians, whom have light skin and loose hair, don't even consider themselves Black half the time. So for Black American women, who believe that this is just an ethnicity thing because of slavery and Jim Crow, I don't think so, because African women look very similar or blacker than you. Colorism is all over the world. It's actually very extreme with Africans and Caribbeans. People who were colonized, yes, but barely lived around white people the way that Black Americans have. Black Americans should have the worst of it, but don't. Africans and Caribbeans bleach their skin. So who is enforcing all this colorism in Africa and the Caribbean? I think you know the answer to that. Angry biracials, some of the children of these self-hating males, pick up on this hatred and disgust of dark skin, especially on women, and of course, that's something that Black women have to deal with when they encounter these people. These people who could have a disdain for you and you won't even know why, and you're probably not going to blame it on racism because it's likely that they don't look white. This same self-hating behavior is also showcased in natural hair. There is a video on YouTube in the form of a short showing a popular baby Black girl who frequently goes viral, and she has, of course, a cute little afro. She walks in a room and her father says she looks like a civil rights leader, and he's mocking the little girl's natural hair, and her mother, a Black woman, laughs along. Self-hating Black women who are obsessed with what they call keeping a man and the thought of being married probably will look at this and bypass what was said just to proclaim how happy they were that there's a father in the home. How amazing that there's a father in this home to teach this Black girl to hate herself. So instead of this male being with the white women like he really wants to be with, and having children that don't look Black, which would be better for everyone, Black women want these males to procreate and create Black children for them to hate. Same thing with the skin color, of course. These males do not want to be looked at crazy by males of other races. So they will proclaim that they don't like weaves after generations and decades of mocking the natural hair of Black women. They suddenly don't understand why Black women are wearing fake hair, but we all know why they feign confusion. And we also know why the majority of Black women who are married to males of other races suddenly don't have this urge to obsessively wear different textured hair. I mentioned this before, but all of the colorism and discourse in the world online doesn't change the fact that these women get offline and go date a male that hates their Blackness. Because they are dating and procreating with these males, they will go along with the self-hate, laughing as these males mock and traumatize their daughters, and all this discourse and self-love talk is for nothing. Now, me personally, I am brown skin, and I don't have features typically seen in most African women, so I'm clearly Black American, and since I grew up extremely light-skinned, I remember people gushing over my skin color and referring to me as red bone. I think that dark skin is more attractive on Black women than light skin, because that's what's natural to us. That's how the original woman looked, and that's what we're supposed to look like, so I've always gone out of my way to darken my skin. I've been tanning for years and spend a lot of time in the sun. I try to get as dark as possible because I don't hate myself. I also don't try to attract any males who would hate dark skin. So it's bizarre that Black women are constantly procreating with males who hate them and their children, or going to a Nigerian shop and seeing skin whitening products just out in the open like it's normal. The preference way of thinking is not just with a non-black woman. A lot of black women are well aware that the males they are with are trash, and I know a lot of people are wondering, well, why would you continue being with trash? Because they have the same thought process as the women they're mocking and calling preferences. These women want to feel special, most. Black women with these males are divorced or just not married in the first place, and they see most of these women don't have long-lasting relationships with them, but more importantly, they see that the femicide rate is highest, and when you look at the cases in the black women being unalived by the males, it wasn't strangers, it was the males they were sleeping with. For these women to risk their lives, still trying to allow these violent males proximity to them, to me it's telling that they want to be considered exempt and special from other black women. The same exact way that trailer trash white women were all over the place saying that, hey, I don't have a bad attitude because I'm not a black woman. Therefore, I'll get treated better. But of course, we all see that's not the case. I've seen some older black women bragging about being married for a specific amount of years as if that's supposed to mean something to anyone. Real accomplishments include things like everyone, me and my husband started a family business together. Everyone, me and my husband had very successful children. Our kids are in the high honor roll every semester. No real accomplishments are being stated by these black women, but they're just saying, hey, everyone, me and my husband are existing. For whatever reason, this is an accomplishment for women like this. But of course, I am aware of the stats, and the stats are showing that most of married black women who marry black males are going to be divorced. They have higher STD rates than single black women. And apparently most of their husbands are cheating on them with other males, which is how they get specific STDs and STIs commonly seen in homosexuals. The majority of these black women have daughters who are SA'd, which means they are not protecting their daughter. Most of them are living in poverty. Their sons are struggling to read and, of course, committing crimes. A lot of them end up paying alimony to their husbands because they are marrying males who make less than them, probably taking on the role of a masculine provider because they know because of their blackness he doesn't really want her but will need her financially. Black women have the highest DV rate. The collective of married black males, whom they call unicorns. These women claim they have so much money yet have not built black women a hospital to safely birth children in. So black women still have the highest mortality rate. Of course, I can go on. But my point is, what fairy tale life are these black women trying to get by wanting to be a preference and getting with a male they are referring to as, quote, one of the good ones? What exactly are they so proud of when they say black love? Because I am looking at a horror movie. They care more about competing with other women and trying to desperately show something off instead of just loving themselves and working on their own lives. They are the only group of women who will allow people to claim authority and believe their opinions are important, despite them owning nothing. I actually don't like the term colorism, because I feel like it's being used as a euphemism for black women to not react to racist behavior, because it's not being labeled as racist. I also don't like this term being used because it is being used like racism where there's a perpetrator and a victim, especially systematically. It's insinuating that non-black women or biracial women are the perpetrators. I've blatantly seen biracial women with black fathers fully in support of colorism. Especially if she is unattractive or disliked by white people, she will lean into trying to get whatever type of love and upliftment that she can get in the black community. So some of these women can be very hateful and bizarre. You can just dislike these women for that. However, you cannot blame them for the behavior of black males. I'm reacting to these women the same way I react to seeing a woman finding out that her husband cheated, and instead of addressing a husband, she wants to fight the woman that didn't owe her loyalty to begin with. Black males were the ones who black women trusted to fight racism with them. Biracials are not a part of your race, so I don't know why you're expecting any type of loyalty or decent behavior. So the black women online, again, beefing with the women and still dating males who hate them just come off as very ridiculous to me, especially when at the end of the day, these black women have the exact same preference pathology as the preferences. When I differentiate between us and biracials, I'm doing that because it's the truth. They are not black. We can have our own space not to compete with them or hate them like these women. If you're going to speak about colorism, there's skits online perpetrating a push towards violence in regards to dark-skinned women. At least talk about something important. I previously touched on black women's self-misogyny. These women uplift dark-skinned black males while they're ignoring their gender and think if they uplift the skin of a male, then they uplift the skin of the entire race. If they say something like, look how dark he is, he's so manly, they're insulting themselves. Ironically, there's now light-skinned black males online with accounts dedicated to hating the black women who participated in this, the masculization of them for their skin. Black women should take a step back and evaluate their behavior and how interact with society. Why are you constantly seeking validation from a society that purposefully degrades your skin? They just told you how they felt, so why still press on? There's black girls on TikTok ranting about how they are educating black males on colorism. Ma'am, they know what it is. They do it on purpose. So for what reason are you talking to a wall? Interracial girlies will say white males prefer dark-skinned on us. That's great. However, you are still putting your worth in how much attention you can get from the opposite gender, which is not okay